Alrighty, we're doing an extra weekend stream of Raging Loop this week, and because I got a little extra free time than normally would have, so I'm using it to its fullest extent. Teehee teehee. So yeah, last time we played Raging Loop, we ended up finishing our second loop. We made it where a lot of people survived and thought we had a good ending, and then a lot of people just ended up dying in the end anyway. So not so that ended up still being a bad route. So we ended up starting a third loop. We ended up saving the one reporter guy, and after saving the reporter guy, we found out that we have actually reset the roles again for everybody, and it turns out this time we're a wolf. So I think it would be pretty interesting to see because we've speculated so far that, or at least in the story, they speculated that Shania is a god and has magical powers and stuff. But I'm willing to believe it's more mundane and that the people who are doing the killing just wanted to do the killing. In the first one, they gave them a reason to do it. And in this one, and or the last one we did, where everybody ended up secretly dying after we actually did get the wolves, that ended up happening because the two people who were wolves, or the three people, one of them was unreluctant, and they ended up sacrificing that person early on, and the next two people were actively willing to kill. So I really think it's not supernatural. So I'm wanting to see how our main character plays it out. Are they going to go through with the killings just to find out to see what happens when the wolves win? Is the main character just going to go through with it just to find out and be like, okay, so what happens when we do win? Who do we talk to, or how does this end? Or is he going to actively try to throw it to see if he can just stop the wolves from doing it? Maybe get maybe even see what happens when the corruption triggers against a wolf. Might be interesting since you can always just redo the loop. However, one thing I did find weird last time is the game has been very strict about what information it lets us keep. We have had several dead ends in which we've died, but our player character never seems to remember some of the dead ends, and he doesn't actively try to change things that much. Yet suddenly in the last loop, our main character says, "Oh yeah, I died a bunch of times trying to remove the bullets from the guns so they couldn't go on a rampage, and I finally succeeded one time." And it's like, wait, you're willing to do time loops without me present, except for trying other little funny things. So it's weird that the main character hasn't tried to fudge little things here or there, or at least just said he did, even without making us do the loop itself. That would have been interesting if he said, okay, I did it 3 more times, and now I found out that I definitely cannot lead the village. Except for this one time where I did lead the village and I still died, but for some completely different reasons. So that's still some of the information. I mean, our main character did say that he wanted to find out more about the rules and how the mystery of the town works. So maybe he'll be. Maybe the reason why they introduced the fact that our guy was doing loops without us is because they're going to get him to do that more often, and they just wanted to ease that into the story. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's pull up Raging Loop and see how it actually plays out. Let us start back off. Finally, a wolf. So yeah, we went to sleep, woke up in this red mist, and they gave us a way of striving off the mist from making us go to sleep, which is interesting that there's a thing that does that. Oh, and the one person who was telling us how to be wolves had like a muffled voice or was doing ooh voice. I'm going to assume it was muffled. I really think the fog is some kind of hallucinogenic or some kind of drug that's in the fog that makes everyone go to sleep at the same time and make sure you're not awake when the wolves are doing their shit. That way, other people can also mess around while the wolves are there, let alone just the wolves. But we'll see how it goes. Because the one doctor guy going insane and killing everyone in the town after we had successfully beaten the game makes me think that I mean, I've already been thinking it, but there's definitely more bullshit going on. Because suddenly everybody who survived the game was murdered somehow. which makes me think that the whole point of the killing game is to get a lot of people killed. Because last time, the old Wolfman and Konzo both survived the game, and they weren't randomly massacred by somebody else afterwards. They survived until the next game. So part of me thinks that the whole point of this killing game is just to wipe out a certain amount of people in the town. And if that doesn't happen, they do it some other way. I'm not sure if they're doing it for some kind of magical purpose or what's the reason for them to fuck around the long route. But like I said, we'll see. Anyway, here we go. Speculation done. Story begins again. My body hurt. It's just Thanos. He's like, just snap him away. It's perfectly balanced as everything should be. We need exactly 2 people left in town, all right? No more, no less. The familiar sensation made me open up my eyes slightly. I saw the bright but shabby inside of the prefab. Through the dirty curtainless window, I saw the mist outside. This was reality, wasn't it? I lifted my upper body, turned a bit, moved my head, pinched my cheek. It all felt real. Then tried to stand, and I could. Looking at my phone, which was about to run out since the place had no electricity, I saw the correct date and that it was 8 o'clock. I slept in pretty late. Remembering something, I lifted the bottom of my shirt and looked at my stomach. What I saw made me freeze. The Lord of the Hunt, the Wolf, slay all the Yamabito, cleanse and purify, or die. So, once again, that's what makes me think that there's something else going on, because it says, slay the Yamabito, cleanse and purify, or die. So, it is saying it wants all the Yamabito, slay all the Yamabito. That's why I think if the wolves don't do their job, that's why what's-his-name murdered them, because they're going to get you to murder the people in the town anyway for some reason. It's meant to make it so the wolves win, and if they don't, they set it up where everyone dies anyway, assumably. Or at least only 2 people live. It wasn't a dream. Or was it? Cleanse, purify, dream. At first, we thought the people of Kamafujiyoshi just made it up to make fun of us. But we found out it was true when we became blessed by Shinai-sama himself. On the day Oji-chan died, he showed up in my dreams and told me about it. Great Lord Shinai told a real story through dreams, making the people of Yasumizu change drastically. They went from those who hunted wolves to those who hunted humans. It wasn't clear which side was right. I didn't even know if there was a right side to this. But I didn't feel much. I didn't get any sort of hatred for the humans or motivation for the kill. The first time, Yasunaga-kun, Tei-san, and Haru-chan all had some sort of cold, calm anger towards the humans. Last time, Kemi had said that it was intent on killing me from the start. As for Mochi, my first impression of him was weird but harmless kid, and that somehow became insane killer. We had our reasons for doing what we did, and we had to keep doing it until the end. So stop it with the questions. They're pain. However, she also said that she was struggling, and it didn't sound like it had anything to do with what she wanted. Regardless of what you were like before, you became a wolf by getting the wolf as your guardian. What was Mamiya-san like in that regard? She had worked as a wolf, but that was easier than just to survive or because she was urged by Kemi. There's no zeal or loyalty there, so she ended up being silenced. That meant that the real story only worked on the people of Yasumizu. That was the only way things made sense. But if that dreamlike experience was true, then this time the wolves were Haru-chan, Kaori, and I, right? I had seen them in the mist, and red light. They certainly didn't look right. I wasn't sure if I was actually a matter of sanity, but they just accepted the event as natural. A change born from the real story, an event set up from the start. No. I also had to consider the possibility that it was just a dream, and that me being chosen as a wolf had nothing to do with it. I still couldn't be sure if they were other wolves. I absolutely couldn't just go to the dining hall and ask them if they were. I had to wait until tonight. Suddenly, Musashi, you okay? Haruki-san, are you alive? Haruki-san! Someone knocked on my door. I quickly wiped off the bloody guardian mark on my stomach. It was dry, so it came off easily. I washed my hands in the bucket and unlocked the door. You're okay. Haruki-san, I'm so glad. I saw Takumi-san armed with a farming tool, and Kemi, who was so happy about my survival, she had tears in her eyes. The fact that she was the same person as that vicious mass murderer made it difficult to be happy about this development. If this was an act, this reminded me that she herself had told me I had a bad eye for women. Without any of that, she really did seem like nothing but a gentle, cute young woman. We carefully walked through the mist. The mist actually came. I heard it's a bad sign, is it? How much have you heard exactly? That someone always dies when it comes? Who the hell told you that to a damn newcomer? That aside, did someone die? No. No one's dead yet. Good. Has everyone gathered already? Yeah, in the dining hall. Sorry, we came to pick you up pretty late. Everyone's panicking because of the mist. Sorry for making you wait. Of course they come for me last. I was at the bottom of the totem pole here. And despite that, I was a wolf. Crap. How was I supposed to survive Kanzo-san's "Can you just die" today? Hold on. What was I thinking? Was I actually going to fulfill my role as a wolf? I would actually create those awful piles of corpses? I didn't want to do that. It wasn't beholden to some weird legend. There was no need for me to play along with this insanity. Honestly, I could just reveal who the wolves were on the first day. That'd keep the sacrifices minimal and... No. That'd result in my own death. I had to think carefully. Especially since if you just died by doing that, then you would just, loop back and you'd be stuck in this loop forever. I had to survive. I had to survive and escape the loop. This wasn't a matter of leaving Yasumizu or Fujiyoshi. I'd actually end the feast once and escaped, yet the death loop still continued. Hell, the feast of the Yomi Purge and the general mystery surrounding Fujiyoshi still wasn't over. Honestly, I had no confidence that I'd been of the right of mind when I decided to actually move to Fujiyoshi. I felt like all the characters and stage props were gathered to bring about nothing but tragedy. Until I solved all the mysteries here, the supernatural forces here would continue to terrorize me no matter how far I ran. There was the possibility that surviving as a wolf would solve everything. Though that wasn't a pleasant thought. Perhaps I'd come back to life, return from Yomi over and over because of the local Yomi inhabitants. So in order to solve this, I had to become a wolf and kill them all. Right? This could be the right path. Haruki-san? Huh? What? What's wrong? Something bothering you? Kinda worried. I'm actually quite the scaredy cat. Can't blame you. Would I have to kill them too? Can you handle blood? Why are you asking? No person died, but, well... Their expressions turned dark. I saw the plaza. There are 3 wolves. Just like last time, Tei Yamiwaki-san and the Okiba with the 3 Yomotsu Okami symbols painted on it. What do you mean? I'll tell you later. The exchange was exactly as I remembered. I still knew about all this, so I had to be careful to stay in character. I couldn't forget that just about everyone here had their first feast today. They didn't have the knowledge or experience, and no one had killed anyone yet. If I went and said something weird, they suspect me, and had to act like the confused newbie. As I approached the plaza, I noticed a strange stench. Though it resembled the smell of death, I was now intimately familiar with this, and felt more beastly. What was that stench? You shouldn't look. I disregarded her warning and headed towards the source of the smell. Huh? There was a pile of corpses in the middle of the plaza, though they weren't human. From what I could tell, they were remains of mid-sized, 4-legged beasts. They looked like dogs, but their bodies were in such a terrible shape, I wouldn't have been able to tell if they were foxes, tanuki, or wolves instead. Alright, so this is heralding back to him saying, if there wasn't somebody who stepped out of line and died from the corruption, they would have to prove that this is a real thing. So whoever did it just ended up killing a bunch of animals and being like, see, there's a bunch of dead animals here. That's definitely supernatural, right? Some had their limbs or heads removed, and a lot were just cut up really badly. Bloody fur, eyes open so wide you'd think they'd fall out. If I had to guess, there were at least 20 of these here in this pile. It was about as tall as the back of a smaller adult. It reeked badly, but more than that, it was just disturbing. Crimson fur, countless fangs, claws, eyes. This seemed like an original idea for a fantasy monster. Indeed, monster was very apt. It was almost a monument dedicated to the Yomitsu Okami. Perhaps this was the example this time? Don't touch it. We're throwing it in Saranaga later. I wasn't planning on touching it. It was basically a heap of potential diseases. Wouldn't dumping it in a river be illegal though? Screw it, this wasn't the time to worry about stuff like that. Haruki-san, you seem strangely calm. Well, you see dog corpses in town every now and then. Not sure how I'd feel about it if it was a person. It probably wouldn't affect me much at this point, to be honest. I've seen too many horrible human corpses. You're alive! Outside the dining hall, there was Kondo Makishimashi, gun in hand. Along with him was... Fusashi-kun. Good morning. At the entrance, there was Mamiya-san, who looked uneasy, and Hashimoto-san, who looked strangely composed. After greeting them, I went inside. Haruki Fusashi-san is okay too. That's everyone then. My, what a relief. I looked around and yeah, everyone was here. A total of 16. What a party. At one seat there was Haru-chan. Her face is pale and her two friends were seated next to her. It's safe to be in here. Wanna eat? I just can't. She hated the mist before, but this time it seemed even worse. She also made herself as small as possible and felt like she was averse to their care. This seemed like a mix of her fear of the mist and the rejection of the villagers she had as a badger.
Oh, I'd say she's just the greatest scaredy cat here.
Scaredy cat.
She was always really afraid of the corruption talk. Maybe she was just scared of getting corrupted. That's why I don't think Haru-chan could kill anyone if she was a wolf.
The girl who was afraid of the corruption. It started 8 years ago, when she tried to visit Yasumizu when it was covered in mist and saw something. That had to be it. The idea, or certainty, that the people around her were Yamabito had to scare her pretty badly. Maybe she really was a wolf. Kaori-san, on the other hand, looked okay. That thought came too soon. A moment later, I heard a crash from behind the counter.
I'm so sorry. I'll clean it up.
Oh, let me handle it. I'm supposed to be working here. Sorry for not helping. Without waiting for a response, I hurried behind the counter. There was broken porcelain on the floor, along with some rice and soup. The same food as last loot, basically. I already knew what was there in the kitchen, so I wetted the cloth, wrung it out, and started wiping it up. Then I spread out a newspaper and collected the porcelain. Suddenly, I felt something touching my upper arm. I turned around and saw Kaori-san crouching and staring at the floor with a pale expression. She was shaking. I could tell from her touch. There were tears in her eyes, and her half-open mouth made her look as she was about to sob. Her whole body was basically saying that she couldn't bear this. Kaori-san isn't feeling too good. Yasunaga-kun? Yoshikitsu-kun? Can you come over?
Bob, are you okay?
Don't force yourself, hag! As they helped her get to the stairs, Kaori-san looked at me with eyes that seemed both pleading and scornful. It felt like she was asking if they really had to kill these wonderful children with her own hands. This mission was too much for her to bear, and for what I could tell, she wanted to share the burden with me to make it easier for herself. It was safe to assume that the dreamlike experience had indeed showed me the other wolves. The real question is, I'm surprised Kaori isn't like, I'm not killing my kids. Nope. Game gives herself up right away. If not the other ones else too. That would be the hardest part if she just quits every time. Come down. Though it seemed pretty conclusive to me, this was just day one. We had the mist, the wolf symbols, and the pile of dog corpses. So it wasn't weird for a sensitive woman to become a bit sick. Even Kemi and Hisako didn't look so good. The only ones who were clearly okay were Rikaku-san, who looked like a no mask of the time, and Miko, who probably had her eyes hidden. As long as they didn't act on any more suspicions, it was all good. I'll serve the food. Chikimochi-kun, can you get me a bowl from that shelf?
Well, you already know where everything is. You can call me Mochi, though.
I might have been the one in trouble here. I told him to call me Hassan, decided that I had to act more ignorant of things. After we ate, I pretended to be busy in the kitchen. Kim and Rikaku-san looked like they wanted to talk, but I avoided them because I felt like I might accidentally spill the beans to them. Of course, we had to wait until Takumi-san and the Oribe brothers cleaned up the plaza. Then I had tons of things to wash. Last time, the feast began about 9. But now that Kaori-san had gone to bed for a second time, it'd have to happen later. It didn't show any signs of starting even at noon, so we had lunch. We gotta use the shishi. I'll cut it up. You can't boil rice in a kettle? Screw it, I'll do it. I got some unexpected help, so I ended up having only to cut up the veggies and add spice. We ended up with lots of decent rice and pork boar soup. I didn't expect the Yoshigitsu-kun to know how to boil rice. He probably helped out Kaori-san a lot. Haru-chan, feel like eating? Yeah, and don't call me by name. Apologies, milady. Stop it, Undie Man. I hadn't accepted that name, but trying to resist it would have probably made her antagonistic towards me, so I just laughed it off. I'm sorry for making you worry. What a nice smell. Who made it? Haruki-san, Yoshigitsu-kun and I helped out. Oh my, thank you, Yoshigitsu. I just boiled some rice. Do you think you can eat? Yes, I'll have some. Everyone noticed that her face was as pale as before, but no one pointed it out. Kanzo-san was beginning to become irate, and it was clear that we had to begin the feast soon. We're doing it after eating? Huh. Everyone, even Kaori-san, understood what was going to happen. No, 2 people didn't. Well, I understand that the road is blocked, but we can't get out by crossing the stream below. It's dangerous. I understand how you feel, but it might be the best if you just wait for help. Serizawa-san said that just no one would come. What's going on here? No need to rush it, ma'am. If you will explain it to us, yes? Yes, I'll tell you about the feast later. Do it now. I don't want to participate in something I don't know about. Q-chan, no need for that. Hearing them talk made me nervous, but at least they kept everyone on their toes. Or was that a bad thing for us wolves? The only thing the humans could do against the wolves was lynch, so we had to keep their motivation to do that to a minimum. At the very least, that was relatively easy today when no one had died so far. Kanzo Makashimashi would definitely insist we hang someone, and I had to somehow shoot him down. Of course, I had to avoid standing out in a way that would affect my chances further down the line. It's time. Go to the hall. We all lined up, and the eldest went in first. They joined their hands and hid their faces. It was a unique sight, and once again I copied them. Like last time, I ended up at the lower end of the group, but the complete outsiders were below even me. Is this really okay with you? I'd be in the way if I wasn't at end of the group, right? I couldn't give a strong argument, so I just gave him a light, in response. Tei-san declared the start of the feast, and Rikaku-san handed out some divine sake. Aren't you driving? Won't be for a while. Hashimoto-san drank 3 full cups without anyone arguing with him to, and Mamiya-san griped that he was drinking too much. He'd also had 3 more helpings of lunch. It was appropriate for someone his size, so I haven't even commented on it. With him being the first to drink, the rest of us were a bit taken aback. Then, Tei-san explained the legend and the feast. That sounds like a crime to me. Just like last time, after asking this and that, Mamiya-san eventually took that strong stance on the whole thing. But if we don't do it, we will die ourselves. But let's listen until the end. Then we'll have time for questions, and we can share our thoughts. Okay. Mamiya-san still had a stern expression, but her cool temperament made her seem like a completely different person from last time. After that, Yasunaga-kun pointed out things Tei-san missed, like the amount of people the wolves could kill, the extra info on the spider, and whether any of us were in the feast before. Then, how do you know if you have a guardian? Hashimoto-san, who wasn't here last time, quickly pointed out more info that was missing. Kanzo-san then explained that they appeared on the stomach. I see. So that's why cleaning your body is one of the rules. A god doesn't want to touch sweaty skin. You talk more than I expected. Oh, my apologies. I'm only quiet when I work. It makes it easier, so I restrained myself. He smiled, astonishing everyone yet again. At this point, all the rules except for the badger had been revealed. Well, we kind of went off track, but what do we do now? We got some dead dogs, but it's not like a person died, right? What if it's just someone in Kamo Fujiyoshi trying to intimidate us? Bod-chan said that happens often. That was news to me.
Well, my Oba-san said that the people from there used to release shishi blood into the field water. I do not believe they still do that.
From what I can tell, most of the people there just downright ignore Yasumizu. There's probably barely anything connected to the two places anymore. Some from the hunting industry have ties to Kanzo Makishimashi, but they seem to respect you. Not sure I trust that.
Well, Kanzo-ji-chan is the only one who can hunt at the base of the Shinai-san.
That was some interesting info.
Anyway, good point. The only one still trying to do something bad to Yasumizu are school children and the village heads.
Again with the unfair mislining. The village heads are far too busy for that.
Unfair? The whole mountain festival seems to be one big Yasumizu bullying event that I could even take them to count and win over.
By the way, Chikamochi.
What?
You're not the one doing this, are you?
Oh, that's possible.
It was?
But too bad. I'm flattered that you thought of me though, but I didn't do it. Have you even seen that pile of dead dogs? How could I even do that?
Good point.
When I was still in Masato, I had them buy me a lot of guinea pigs for my birthday, and I played around by drowning them in a pond.
Huh, what? Sorry, that's just how he is.
You suck. Yeah, I'm not doing it anymore. If you're gonna kill something, make it mice or cockroaches. Yeah, I'll kill tons of mice.
I could tell from the weirdos here were making Mamiya-san uncomfortable, but Hashimoto-san was unfazed, as always. I had a feeling the new info I was hearing here came from the fact that no one had died, so tension levels were low. Anyway, what do we do about the feast? Can I suggest something? He made the first move? I recall hearing that Takumi-san was the one who moved first the very first time. He revealed that he was a snake. Last time, one of the monkeys, Kanzo-san, suggested that I die. The flow of events had changed, so maybe he didn't have a guardian this time. Perhaps it wasn't a good idea to decide who had and didn't have guardians based on that alone. Just adding Hashimoto-san had changed the course of discussion completely. And this time, Kemi was the girl that criticized Fujiyoshi with her silly dwelling mentality, basically bringing her back around to show us how she was in the first loop. Last time, besides the strong words on day one, she stayed passive, only hesitantly making moral objections. By becoming a wolf, she greatly changed her approach to the feast. Now there was Kinosuke-shi. I'd expect him to suggest we use a popular vote, but I believe he should become our courageous representative. He should become a courageous representative. He said that, while pointing at me. Are you telling me to die? I don't want to use such strong language, but I heard that's what you came here for. It's hard to choose the first one, but when the first hanging does happen, the crow can reveal themselves. I didn't expect that idea to come from him. That was basically the same approach as Kanzo-san's. Hadn't he voted for me the first day too? Crap.
I'm sorry, but do we have any idea what you're saying? Yeah, how can you tell someone to die for no reason? They say that on TV, the first one that talks, the shadiest one.
If he was by himself, his suggestion would have no effect. However, I'm with the scrawny Nasato. His agreement was bad news for me. What are you talking about? A human can die for Yasumizu's sake. I can do that too, but I need to watch the feast a bit longer. Why the hell would we do that? I've survived two? It's two now? I survived 2 feasts. He was telling us now? I know what we gotta do. We gotta hang. And if humans are afraid of hanging, humans will lose. Uematsu, pour him some more. Crap. Things are moving just like last time. I played it off with some vague words back then, but would it work now?
Let's calm down.
It's extremely dangerous to decide who dies based on only one side of the table. I understand some of what Kazu's had to say, but we could just as easily say that he's a wolf. Wolves could use logic too. Just because something makes sense doesn't mean we should accept it without question.
Now, Tsunaga, what is right in this situation? Why must we hang anyone?
According to Teba,
We're not allowed to kill anyone outside the feast. Breaking this law means death. There are 16 of us here. 13 are humans, 3 are wolves. If we do the feast and randomly kill one every day, we can get rid of the wolves eventually, but if we don't, our chances are 0. If we skip out on the killings during the feast, the wolves would just kill one each night, and we would quickly die. However, not even I'm sure if there are wolves here. I really don't know if they would kill people. If this is just simple mist, and the rest is just some sick joke, the wolf is really coming! Everyone was surprised, and he suddenly began to speak. I was pretty used to it by now, though. Listen! Wolves aren't as simple as they seem! Yomi is the mountain, and spread the corrupt cause the mountain said so. Yomi is the mountain? What nonsense is that? Shinai-sama's on the human side. Mountain doesn't take sides. Mountain's whimsical and cruel. If it's hungry, it'll eat the people it raised. We got a feast! Not much he said came as a surprise to me, but I'm sure didn't expect to hear it from him. I wasn't the only one. The weird way he presented it made most people here uneasy and maybe even scared. The old fart's been at feast before. It might be senile, but he remembers it. The wolves gotta hang. Excuse me. Everyone looked at me with sharp eyes. How were the people you hang chosen in the previous feasts? We voted. I guess as much. Apparently the popular vote was tradition at this point. And you think we should do that this time too? What about everyone else? My question caused some whimpers among the people, or whispers among the people. Can we really decide like that? I know what you mean. We'd be condemning people to death by popular vote. It's too cruel. Well, there's no better way to choose. We can talk it out. If that doesn't work, we shouldn't hang anyone at all. You think we should reach a consensus like that? There's no way the potential victim would agree. Alright, anyone who volunteers to die for us, raise your hand. Kimmy had used this to gain everyone's trust. Wakako-san had used this to convey to me that Miko had a guardian. Basically, it was just pure strategy. If they didn't need to take the risk this time, they simply wouldn't do it. That meant that it was likely that Miko didn't have a guardian this time. What was I to do here? I thought for a moment and concluded that if I raised my hand here, everyone would gladly hang me. No matter how kind-natured and reasonable they tried to appear, they actually didn't care much about me. Kemi and Wakako-san would value me more than most, but there was no arguing that they favored their own. I could totally imagine them prioritizing everyone else and tearfully voting for me. Otherwise, if my fate had already been decided at that point, they would vote for someone else to send them a message or keep them on their toes. It was definitely a dangerous situation for me. It was one way that I might have been able to survive, that might have been able to save me though. I could do what I'd done last time. By sounding like I'd be an asset to them, I'll buy time for myself. And finally, reveal that I had a guardian. I'd have to make sure the real one with said guardian was gone at that point though. That meant using the time I had to find and kill them. Could I really do that though? You've got no one? You talk big, what about you though? I can't die yet. Oh wait, here's a warning. Those with guardians should be especially careful. What do you mean? He went on to give us a starting warning. That those with guardians should keep their status hidden. However, it was better than go against that warning when the snake or crow found a wolf or when the fake appeared, and the monkeys were an exception to that. The explanation for the monkeys was the same as last time. The thing about the snake or the crow finding a wolf as well as the appearance of a fake weren't mentioned back then. Those with guardians are likely to be targeted, so it's best for them to be quiet. But there are situations in which it's advantageous to speak up or disadvantageous to keep quiet. The prime examples of those situations are the appearances of fakes, or when someone discovered as a wolf. You sure we have fakes? No doubt about it. Yasunaga-kun went and briefly explained that wolves had to actively lie to win. He also added that humans should avoid lying as much as possible. The only ones who lied at the feast are the wolves. Making that a rule should spare us some trouble. That's what I think, Kazu-san. What about you? Everyone got it. This was the time. Kanzo-san and Yasunaga-kun spent a lot of time beginning last time fighting over the lead despite both being monkeys. With Haru-chan and Tei-san's deaths, the one in charge ended up being Takumi-san. If a calm and collected Takumi-san ended up assisting Yasunaga-kun like last time, the wolves would be at a huge disadvantage. Now, if Kanzo-san ended up in charge and controlled the feast with an iron fist, the order would collapse, perhaps to our advantage. All right, so there's two weaknesses that you know of already. The first is that Yoshigitsu, if he doesn't have a guardian, maybe even if he does have a guardian, might go out and get killed by the corruption. So if he goes out to do his thing, he'll be killed by the corruption, and that's one person who's gone off the board. The second is, once we got rid of Tei, the old lady, Takumi also fucking lost his shit. So if we don't keep Takumi in the proper... If we are able to knock Tei off, Takumi, who we just said is a dangerous person, could just fucking lose it and end up doing something really dumb. So that could be two ways of playing it. We also don't know who the Badgers is yet. However, that increased my chances of getting killed. I had to find a balance. Yes. I nonchalantly yet hesitantly raised an arm. A few other followed my lead. Kemi, Rikaku-san, Kaori-san, Yoshigitsu-kun, Kinosuke-shi, Takumi-san, Amamiya-san, Hashimoto-san, Mochi. I'm fine with that. He backed down. Yasunaka-kun and everyone who raised their hands amounted to 12, clear majority. His polite, calm explanation bore fruit. But was Kanzo-san the type to back down a situation like this? But we're hanging wolves by vote. Ah, so he had conditions for this agreement.
Fine by me. Talking ain't getting us anywhere. Hell, all the talk would just get us as a result as a vote, wouldn't it?
Well, you have a point. Takumi, what do you think? Alright. This has gotta be a joke. The bartering with Yasunaka-kun had made Takumi-san agree to something he'd been completely disapproving of. Kemi had realized that she had to accept it, so she'd given up on arguing and only complained. Hanzo-san had a tendency to strong-arm people, to get what he wanted, but he was good at it. So we got derailed a bit. We hanging Fusashi? Things were looking bad for me. Suddenly, I got help from where I least expected it. If you ask me, I don't believe we should hang anyone today.
Today? I don't think we should do it at all.
If it's a matter of kill or be killed, I would kill. His tone was calm, but his words were terrifying. I have a wife and 3 daughters waiting for me at home. Mamiya-san's eyes widened. She must have realized how serious he was.
You didn't mention that you don't intend to die. You did mention that you don't intend to die for your work.
Yes, that's why I carefully listened to what everyone here said. And I think that lynching someone first would give the wolves a reason to start killing. That was a general observation that no one argued against, probably because they didn't have a good comeback. I more or less understand the rules now. Can I say something that's on my mind? Thank you. If I'm getting something wrong, you there, you seem to know how things work, so please point it out.
Huh? Oh, okay.
Now, in this process, at least 5 people will die. A minimum of 3 wolves and 2 humans killed at night.
Yes, at least as long as the spider doesn't protect the humans.
That means that someone will die tonight regardless of whether we lynch someone today. That's not wrong.
But if we don't hang someone today, the feast will continue without any dead wolves.
That's odd. Today's lynching is to let the crows show themselves, right? It's unlikely it would be a wolf. Would it really be effective overall? I wouldn't say it would be worthless. But imagine hearing this tomorrow. I am the crow. The one lynched yesterday, Fusashi-san, was a human. Now, even if it turns out he was a wolf, we would believe the crow just because no other crow spoke up against them? What would happen then? You would have 14 humans and 2 wolves. The chance of getting a wolf would drop from about 19% to about 14%. From what I see, the endgame would be after some people have died, regardless if that happens sooner or later. So, I'm not sure if we should lynch anyone today without any evidence.
Well, you might have a point. That's sophistry. We humans can't win if we don't hang anyone.
Yes, but believe that it's worth waiting for just one day. If we lynch someone today, the wolves would realize that they really would get killed, effectively justifying their killings. Now, if they strike first, the humans could unite and avenge the victim. I'll say it again. Someone will definitely die tonight, regardless if we lynch someone or not. That is, assuming the wolves are serious about this. However, the lynching today, or lack thereof, would change whether tonight's victim would be considered the wolves' revenge for their vile preemptive attack. Basically, I believe we can't be strong enough to lynch people until the wolves kill someone. Personally, I hope that such restraint would make the wolves hesitant to not kill anyone. Is that possible? It's no.
The wolf is coming!
I see. Even so, attacking someone when there's no victim is extremely stressful. I simply believe that sacrificing someone who is most likely human and sowing discord between us is much worse than simply letting someone die at night and unifying us. He had a point. As a general rule, it was disadvantageous for the humans to waste an opportunity to lynch. However, making a preemptive attack when you had limited information and the chance of getting a wolf was low was extremely risky. Thus, it was a good option to prioritize emotional superiority and unity. Not many people would argue against this. Hashimoto-san was just as good of a speaker, the opposite of Kiyanosuke-shi. His suggestion was beneficial for the wolves too, but only for now. It would be more difficult for us to kill someone tonight. Upon hearing about, I believe that Hashimoto-san has a point. We don't fully know each other yet. Killing someone in this situation would be a waste.
I thought the same thing. The feast is controlled primarily with information, right?
What do you mean, Q-chan?
You decide who's a wolf by taking time to see who sides with who and who says something strange. Since you made it a rule that humans can't lie, the wolves who must lie will eventually slip up. It seems right to lynch them once you find that out that way. There might even be cases where a single clue can lead you to know who all the wolves are.
I see. Detective deduction. I don't know if it would go that well, but by observing what the wolves do and gathering information about them, you can pinpoint someone. And eventually, even avoid having to lynch someone, letting us catch up to them. And it's not like we won't learn anything today. The snake will surely find out whether someone is a human or wolf.
That's true. Maybe it's best to skip this day to avoid accidentally killing the snake.
He presented the likely disadvantages that could emerge and provided ways to turn them around. It was really effective. Most here didn't want to kill anyone yet, but had to balance out the pros and cons of doing so. If they were told that the negatives could be made up for, they had no reason not to cling to that. Crap, I fell silent. Silent people were considered to be passive accomplices to the wolves. I had to say something. That does seem effective. There's also another thing to keep in mind. What would that be? The wolves would definitely prioritize killing the ones with guardians, right? But if we lynch someone today, you would lower the amount of options for them to choose from. Now, if the potential victim of the lynching ended up being one with a guardian, they would have no choice but to reveal it. Since humans can't lie and wolves know each other, they would instantly know if one claiming to have a guardian was telling the truth. But at this point, there is no benefit for those with guardians to come out. None of them have used their powers to gain any info.
And they would only die to the wolves.
Yes. That is true. Of course, it's not likely you would land a guardian, but if you hang humans, you would also lower the number of targets for the wolves. There are currently 13 non-wolves, and taking one away would leave 12. The wolves would choose one of them.
And lower the number, the higher the chance that they hit one with a guardian.
Love started to think that Hagrid on the first day does more harm than good. I actually thought that this way of handling the wolves was good for the humans. From what I could tell, Kaori-san and Haru-chan would be found out sooner or later. I had my looping and was generally a scumbag. Admits it. So I wasn't shaken by the situation as they were, but my situation wasn't exactly solid. I could fall into traps set by the humans too. What do you think, Takumi-D? I don't like that we're continuing on with the wolves will definitely kill someone. But I can understand not killing you for not getting killed ourselves. Oh man, the wolves will kill. Maybe, but still. But I get what the big guy's saying. What? Vote on whether we hang someone today. That'll do. Uematsu, record.
Very well.
Oh, I forgot. Huh? You said that the monkeys don't have a reason not to reveal themselves, right?
Yes, I could assure that another's legitimacy, which makes them hard to fake, as they have no powers, which makes them unpopular targets.
I see. With that in mind, I am a monkey. As for the other monkey, the letters were unclear and hard to read, but it's something Da-san.
Yeah, I'm Chikamochi Kamoshida. I'm the monkey. I am the monkey. I am. Stop that!
I see. So you're a monkey?
Pure relief.
Yasunagi-kun was glad that his best friend was definitely not a wolf. Such behavior was a good way to guess whether someone was a wolf or not. Reactions were important.
I guess that confirms that this Hashimoto-san isn't just a wolf acting friendly. Can we start a vote? We gotta decide if we're lynching or not.
No. We're deciding if we're hanging today or waiting until someone dies. Once they do, we're hanging people no matter what. Swear it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that makes sense. We can't just let them kill us and do nothing.
Teiba, you ready?
Yes. No one has objections?
I'm okay with it too.
With no more counter-arguments, we began the vote. The results came quick. The only ones who voted to hang someone today were the old wolf guy and Kanzoshi. Everyone else chose to wait until the wolves made a move, so we didn't hang anyone today. The dining hall was a much more pleasant place than it was in the morning. Yasumizu was a place full of decent people who readily accepted the idea that they wouldn't have to kill anyone today. The same applies to the wolves, or so I thought, but they didn't look so good. That's an interesting science. So you've been to the seminars?
Yes. They were led by Kimiyoshi-sensei.
Kimiyoshi-san? I'm pretty sure a Japanese person I met in Lhasa was a college lecturer with that name.
Oh, that has to be him. He specializes in Sino-Tibetan languages, so he travels there every now and then.
I see. What a small world.
At least to people like you and him.
Another reason was Hashimoto-san. Once he stopped being silent, he turned out to be extremely sociable and understanding. The dining hall would fall silent every now and then, so he walked around and talked to people, bolstering morale and seemingly naturally suited to the role. He wasn't exactly a jokester, but everyone who talked to him seemed to be having fun. He'd even gotten a faint smile out of Haru-chan. I wasn't jealous or anything. I did wonder why Kemi hadn't told me much about her specialty. And honestly, I had no right to be jealous. I already used my looping to get together with two women. No. Doing what I did back then seemed to be the best thing to do in those situations, and... Putting Haru-chan aside for a moment, both Kemi and Okako-san were really charming. Kemi was a bit unhinged at her core, but Mitsuji wasn't all that different. Rikako-san was fun, and her two-faced nature was kind of attractive to me. But, well, I really wasn't in a position to think about what would come after the mist cleared.
I wish to talk to you, Haruki-sama.
Oh, sorry. I'm a bit busy here.
I am sorry. My apologies.
I was making dinner with Kaori-san. I invited her to do it so we would be well fed and ready for tomorrow. Of course, this was a distractor from reality. I didn't want her unpleasant nature to take over and make her throw in aconite to the food, so I took it upon myself to cut the veggies. As I worked, I watched what was going on in the dining hall. I could see most of their faces from the counter. Last time, the first day was relatively peaceful, and this day was even more relaxed. Tae-san's innocent prayers to Kanzo-san's continual state of high alert made it a bit uncomfortable, but that was it. One reason for the good atmosphere here was the fact that no one had died yet, so it was still possible that it was just some sort of sick joke. Another reason was the presence of the one who died in the previous times, Hashimoto-san, who was a master of helping everyone lighten up. I could even include Mamiya-san as a reason. Hashimoto-san was alive, and she wasn't a wolf this time, so she wasn't hysterical like the previous loop. Though, she was writing something with a troubled frown on her face. Gathering material, I assume?
No, I'm not sure if this will turn into an article, so I'll go in with no for now. It was just interesting, though.
The occult?
Yes. I just thought that the local store didn't seem very Japanese.
Oh, I'm a bit interested in that.
Can I even talk about this? won't my take on the local legends upset you? Who knows? I'm kind of interested.
I don't give a damn.
I don't have anything better to do. What about you, Rick-chan? Is this your thing, right? No. Work concerning the divine is the Migurama's responsibility, but I would be lying if I said I was not interested.
Things are going just as they had last time. Everyone was interested in what she had to say, and she revealed her knowledge about god slaying and servant worship. Sasano's beating Orochi, Aesop's Fables, Yomatsu's Okami, and aka Inazami. Then Tae-san became upset, just like last time. The only difference was that I wasn't involved in conversation.
Okay, let's leave it at that, though there's still something that has me curious. I want you to tell me about the song that's sung here.
Oh, she herself mentioned it, huh? It led to just about the same words as last time. Mamiya-san pointed out how the lyrics had a lot to do with the feast. She began questioning the parts she didn't understand, such as the badger and Kinosuke-shi, among others answered her. Interesting, but it's strange that the badger disappeared. I wonder why. The thing I pointed out last time was now pointed out by Hashimoto-san. He and Mamiya-san continued examining the relationship between prayer to Shinai and the feast. Tae-san mentioned that the badger was a servant of the Okami and that there was a statue in the Shinai shrine. She also talked about the late Gen-san's words, the badger's waiting for the Okami-san to return. I have a bad feeling about this. What if there's a badger among us? He raised the same suspicion as I had. If Makishima-san had participated in the previous feast, then this Gen-san must have been there too. They said a badger's there, and they might have left. That was an indirect warning.
Come on, Hashimoto-san. That's just a guess, right?
Well, I guess there's no conclusive evidence. Now it was time for something new.
Okami. Yomotsu Okami. Great Lord. Hashimoto-san. I think I realized something amazing.
I'm listening.
This might feel abrupt, but do any of you know the origin of the name Shinai?
She'd been curious about this in Kama Fujiyoshi too. What of it though?
I heard that Mount Shinai is officially Mount Saranashi. Saru probably became Saru, while Nashi became Nasi. That's wrong, Nasato-sama. Shinai-sama has always been Shinai-sama from the start. The authorities just changed the kanji in the Meiji period because it was hard to read.
The other way around, eh?
So it was always Shinai, Yamakawa-san? Do you know where it comes from? I don't. It's probably a kanji trick.
Mamiya-san ripped out a page from the notepad and put it on the table.
Shin, Nai. The Nai kanji is made up of the kanji for big and show.
She wrote down the relevant kanji.
When you switch them around,
it's the big show. It's the big show.
Oh, it's professional wrestling time. Okay.
She then wrote down the kanji for big, then show to the right of it, and shin to the right. The result was...
To the left side of the kanji for God, there's a radical for show, and it's even more obvious from this old... That means the result is Okami, great Lord, great God. Shinai-sama equals Okami-sama. Isn't that the intention?
What?
Pure nonsense!
Tae-san shouted hysterically. You could hear in her voice that she was shaken up. Of course she would be. According to the Yasumitsu legend, the humans and servants killed the wolves, the Okami-sama. However, it reinforced my theory. I had lots of clues that led me to think that Okami and the Great Lord Shinai were one and the same. His use of the corruption was one thing. Another thing was the fact that he was neutral in the battle between humans and wolves, or Yamabito and wolves. Yet another thing that was the local outlook of life and death. If people went to Yomi upon death, they would go there regardless if they were hanged or killed by wolves. That was why they said, rise not. It meant go to Yomi and not return. However, in the Shinai faith, the mountain was a place where corpses were buried, so it wasn't strange for those to be considered the same as the world of the dead.
Anyway, Inazami lost her life after birthing many gods, and after a lot of trouble ended up becoming the goddess in control of the Nei no Kuni.
Nei no Kuni?
Another name for Yomi, the underworld. There's also Ni no Katsukuni. Some say it's somewhere beyond the sea, while others think that Nei no Kuni is just a place within Yomi.
Maybe I was reading into it too deeply, but Ni no Kuni, country of roots, gave me an image of an underground and tree-covered mountain. Wait. Sure, that's not a stretch. What's the point of hiding the great god inside Okami anyway?
Maybe they did it so there wouldn't be any confusion with the Umiwa shrine, or maybe they warped it to incorporate the Shinto, or maybe they needed to hide the faith.
Hide the faith?
They could have been in a situation where they couldn't worship the Okami-sama in public, so they had to hide it. They might have protected the faith by making it change shape, like how during the Edo ban on Christianity, early Japanese Christians worshiped Maria Kannon instead. It's also not unusual for a god's main servant to be confused for the god himself. This might not sit well with some of you, but legends and myths can change, not just through borrowing aspects of the legends and myths, but also through political events. There was a time when myths and government were closely tied, so myths had a change whenever the politics did. If settlements emerged, their gods would marry, while gods of places annexed to war would become the conqueror's gods, servants, or demons. Or maybe they'd emerge separate gods in the one, and people shaped them according to the power balances of the day. That's why powerful gods and devils have many other names, forms, and invocations. They are remnants from long-forgotten faiths. The legends and myths that have lived to this day survive through countless such changes. Of course, they would have come to contradictions. With that in mind, if you look at it from that perspective, the meaning of prayer to Shinai changes a lot. Though I don't know the truth of it, of course. After all, the song doesn't mention anything about wolves or guardians being opposed to each other.
That was true.
Now, if Okami or Shinai-san was still on good servant master terms with the 5 guardians, perhaps he gave the people the powers of the guardians and used the song to inspire them to fight Yamabito. In other words, among themselves.
She went that far with this audience?
Apologies, but hearing that is not pleasant in the least.
Exactly. I don't like how you talk. I don't like how you know more than us. You talk like you know more than us.
Naturally, Rikaku-san and Tei-san had something to say to that. Oh, are we truly sorry? We are inquiring into these legends and myths because they seem credible. If they didn't, we wouldn't have participated in this and instead insisted on leaving and calling the police.
That's kind of what I'm doing right now.
I'd say you're half trustworthy, Serizawa-san. No one here is actually suspicious yet. But it's just happened to be the badger that almost left out of the legend. Both the legend and the feast rules were transferred through word of mouth. We're simply afraid that you too, despite your extensive knowledge of the legends, happen to be missed or forgot something important.
It is true that I cannot deny that possibility completely.
Uematsu-sama, but...
Well, at its core, it's more simple than it seems, Yasunaga Ordobe-kun, was it?
Yes.
We agreed that humans wouldn't lie. But if there were a human that sided with the wolves, a badger basically, he or she would surely lie or do something drastic for the sake of the wolves, wouldn't you agree?
That's true. Even if it has nothing to do with any badger, we should be wary of such a case.
We should be wary of such a case.
But a compulsive liars and ally to the wolves, even if they're human, will hang them on the spot, right?
Yoshigitsu-kun, who'd been sitting at the corner of the room staring at a wall in boredom, suddenly spoke up. He wasn't wrong in the least, which was probably intended by Hashimoto-san. It appears we will have to avoid doing something we would regret.
That's true.
You don't have to tell us. We all live honest lives. Shinai-sama's watching over us always.
Lie like that. It's a simplistic faith that brings out the best of humanity. With that, I finally understood something. Yudai Hashimoto was the same type of person as me. He controlled people through speech and manipulated their emotions through words and put himself in an advantageous position. The difference between us was that his conscious presence and persuasiveness were far above mine. And he was a human, an enemy to us wolves. Haru-chan was a seat near Yasunaga-kun and Mochi's not saying a word. Pretending to pick something up from the counter, I crouched down and looked at Kaori-san. With her back to everyone, she cut veggies, and although her expression wasn't as bad as before, it was still full of anguish and unease. Time passed by as everyone chatted, ate a larger dinner than ever before, chatted a bit more, and then split up. The only notable thing was the moment when Mamiya-san tried to ask Kanzo-san about the previous feast. Hashimoto-san stopped her, though. I noticed Haru-chan make a face, and a part of that was relieved by that. The previous feast took her parents, and it was the time that she went into the mist and lived to tell the tale. It had been bad if she had gone crazy again. Hashimoto-san seemed to have noticed that possibility, so he stopped Mamiya-san to prevent it. Was it really good to help him survive? Part of me actually believed that, sure, without him, I'd been a human and survived the feast, but it didn't solve anything. Becoming a wolf and making an enemy out of him was just as unfortunate side effect that came with letting him live, and I just had to accept that. After dinner, right when everyone was preparing to split up, Hashimoto-san whispered something to Takumi-san. Takumi-san's expression suddenly turned serious. "Hey, guys, listen up." Apparently, Hashimoto-san had told him told him to say something, and Takumi-san did exactly that. "We didn't hang anyone today. That's why, even if there are wolves among us." Wow, sus. I want to believe that they won't kill anyone tonight. If that happens, we won't have to hang anyone tomorrow either. That ain't happening. Maybe you're right. But if it does happen, it means that one of us here will be gone for good. These will be your final moments together. Keep that in mind, and tell them everything you have to. You have less regrets that way. The bright mood suddenly changed. The mood turned heavy as everyone exchanged handshakes and gave their thanks to each other. Kemi, Haru, Yoshigitsu became very teary-eyed, and Kaori-san said these words to her sons. If I'm gone tomorrow, live strong, you two." She was a wolf, but her words were so honest that they both listened without a word. The village heads here seemed lonely, giving Tei-san and Takumi-san fuel for doubt, while Mochi talked to the old wolf guy. It was a moment when the relationships became very clear. Oji-chan? One particularly impactful moment was when Haru-chan approached her lonely-looking grandfather. Her eyes were still red from her goodbyes with Yasunaga-kun and Mochi. "Oji-chan, if I don't wake up tomorrow..." "Ain't happening." For a moment, it looked like he knew what she was, but then... "No way! You yourself said the wolves will kill. Are you trying to be nice to me by lying to me alone?" Kanzo-san didn't know how to respond. A rarity for him. "I don't need that, so just listen. If I die, try not to drink too much, even if I'm not here." "Haru." Kanzo-san slowly extended his hand to her, but it was too late. Haru-chan had already turned around. A grandfather and granddaughter, both awkward beyond belief. After watching their exchange, I was actually relieved that Haru-chan didn't say anything she shouldn't have, which made me question my own humanity again. Yasunaga-kun must have been in a similar state of mind the first time. Feeling sympathy for the first wolf I'd encountered, I gave Kemi, who was approached to give her goodbyes to me, some half-hearted nice words. I'd done the same for Rikaku-san, who'd finished the exchange with a silent but resolute farewell. "I'll forgive you for what's happened during the day." "Don't want to leave any regrets floating around if we don't meet tomorrow, huh?" "Yeah." That was that with Haru-chan. The disgrace on my name was cleared, and she now neither disliked or liked me. "Sorry for taking your time. Good night, people." Takumi-san nonchalantly concluded the event. Everyone silently began leaving the dining hall. "I hope you come back too, Fusashi-san." We were alone in the dining hall after cleanup, so I had no reason to stay behind. I didn't sense anyone in the mist, but that was because I just couldn't, not because there was no one there. Everyone was probably using this as a chance to have a secret talks they couldn't, or just silently listening for those. It was probably a good idea to thank him. I heard someone's voices near the stairs to the dorm. All right, I'm going to turn on some lights, get a drink, and I'll be right back.
Okay, I'm back. Classic, likely ban evader restricted. Damn. Still not removing the space. It's been months. It's been months and the person using this bot still hasn't fucking removed the space yet. Like, goddamn. I heard someone's voices near the stairs to the dorm. Mamiya-san was talking to Hashimoto-san, right where she died last time.
How serious are they?
Completely, I would say. That means we'll be killed if we act suspicious. Like every journalist knows, the scariest things in the world are humans.
Yes, even in occult matters. When someone dies and there's proof, it's always done by humans.
Excuse me. I considered eavesdropping, but it'd have been bad if they noticed, so I called out.
Fusashi-kun, you scared me.
I'm sorry, Hashimoto-san. Thank you for what you did today. I did something? If things continued like they did, I would have been killed. Oh, well, if that happened, we would have surely been next.
Yeah, that's true. But really, thank you.
No need for that. You helped us when the mist came, so let's consider it even.
Okay, but is it really bad to walk around at night? Seems like a good time to escape.
I suggested that too. I don't think it's a good idea. I've never seen a mist so dense. You'd get lost if you went out to the mountain at night. It might be small, but it's still dangerous. Also, the residents here consider that a taboo, and they're probably the bigger danger.
You think they'd attack us?
Oh no. I don't think so. It's just that belief can sometimes make people see illusions. If we're surrounded by those who believe, we will eventually join their ranks. From my experience, the best thing to do in these situations is to distract yourself by trying to think about something else. Those are some meaningful words.
You don't believe in any legends, do you?
I don't think about whether I believe or not. That's something for the specialists to think about once they've assured their safety, right, Q-chan?
I don't know. I'm not sure if I can make an article out of this.
Personally, I just want to leave this place in peace.
I see. Hope that happens. That was the end. I bid them good night and went on my own way. I hadn't met anyone else on my walk back to the prefab. Yoshigitsu-kun didn't invite me to go out at night, and neither Kemi nor Rikako-san visited to have a talk. They were probably satisfied with the goodbyes in the dining hall. Everyone used the struggle at this time because they hadn't felt like they'd done everything they had to. This time was different, though. Everyone was calmly waiting for the wolves to strike. Fully ready for it, the humans were in the perfect mental state. There was nothing for them to worry about. And it was all because of Hashimoto-san. Then there was the exchange just now.
Oh, well, if that happened, we would have surely been next.
To me, that sounded like, I didn't do it for your sake.
No need for that. You helped us and the mist came, so let's consider it even.
And that was like, you sure helped us at a strange time, huh? He seemed reasonably suspicious of me. Was I just overthinking it? No. That would be overly optimistic. It was clear to me that he'd made it past the first day better than anyone so far, even myself. If he was that talented, he must have already analyzed the situation and noticed that something was strange. They happened to have their tires burst, then be given rooms and gotten caught at the feast. It was clearly orchestrated, and I was the only one who stood out as a suspect. I'd been chosen by a village head, joined them in their van, and actively gave them a place to sleep. The situation was made even worse by the fact that they were right, and that I was a wolf. Since I couldn't mention the looping, I really couldn't say that I was their savior. Not only that, but he was the monkey. He'd secured a good role and relationship with the others, and had a surprisingly keen eye in mind. He'd have been an extremely reliable ally. I really appreciated it when he was presented the idea that we shouldn't hang anyone today. After all, at that moment, just like Kanzo-san, I thought about not hanging anyone was foolish. Thus, I thought that he was foolish too. But now, because of his idea, everyone became somewhat ready to accept someone's death, and to unify to defeat the wolves responsible. He'd also succeeded in preventing the lynching way smoother than I. I could only create a stalemate, which he actually talked the people into voting on against hanging. Kanzo-san didn't want to look like he broke, so he didn't change his opinion, but he was still pretty accepting of the idea to not hang anyone. I
Hashimoto-san did it with great finesse, and it was something I couldn't do. We'd eventually find out if that was a good thing or not. Or rather, they'd decide based on what the wolves did today. However, I already felt like I was falling behind him. Would I really have to defeat him? There was Mamiya-san too. She was way more stable and smart than last time. The way she pointed out that Shinai was probably Okami, or a great god, showed that she would be extremely useful in finding out the truth. She also noticed and mentioned the badger without my help. She probably noticed it last time too, but hadn't mentioned it because she was a wolf. This time, with Hashimoto-san's suggestions, they'd appreciate that they would hang all liars, regardless if they were wolves or the badger. That was a smart move. It kept the humans from lying just for the sake of it and counted the badger whether it existed or not. It was a pretty balanced pair. Mamiya-san was blunt and straightforward, while Hashimoto-san greatly reproved her and provided only the best solutions. They were a much better team than I expected, and the fact that they were enemies was pretty bad for us. As a wolf, I had to consider the other humans too, especially the Orbe brothers. After all, their mother, the demon who tried to kill everyone and swallowed her last words for their sake, was a wolf this time. If I didn't go about this right way, I would be the one to die. Haruchan probably wouldn't want to kill Yasunaga-kun or Mochi either. Kanzo-san was her family too, but I wasn't sure about their relationship, still I didn't think she'd want to kill him. And finally, could I really kill Kemi and Rikako? Though it was all made void by the looping, they liked me and I liked them. Would I really whisper sweet nothings to them during the day, only to kill them at night? I didn't want to do that. That thought was my last before my consciousness faded. Huh? I jumped up, throwing the blanket to the side. Why was I asleep? Didn't I have something to do as a wolf? I could feel myself turn pale as I realized I just made a huge mistake. But the next moment, I noticed something that terrified me in a whole different way. There was something next to my legs. Unable to understand what it was, I've let fear take control and pathetically backed away. Nothing was happening. I reached in my bag and took out a flashlight I got from the convenience store and turned it on. What the hell was all this? It looked like the parts of a costume, particularly the kind used in action hero shows. No, that didn't seem right either. It was like some traditional ritual clothing. Bracers, tabi, straw zori, a faded kimono, and a hakama. All of it smelled awful, like a half-dried laundry being boiled. There was something that stood out more than the rest. It was a kimono underskirt, with some blurry sutra-like text on it. There was another piece of cloth with similar text on it, and it was connected to something weird. Oh, was this a mask? A noble gift we giveth you. We shall wearing this and cleanse yourself. Right. That thing had told us to wear this, and we were supposed to put this on and cleanse ourselves. The bad smell made me really apprehensive. Didn't they have the order wrong? Didn't cleansing come before putting on some sacred clothing? That reminded me that I hadn't cleansed myself before sleeping. Wasn't that bad? Remembering the situation, I checked my time again. The phone I charged with a battery showed that it was 10 o'clock. Great Lord Shinai had momentarily put me to sleep to bring me this thing here. What if I hadn't woken up? Man, they were really treading a fine line here, that aside. I was basically being told to put this on and go outside. I gathered my resolve. Was this good enough? Though the lighting here was poor, there were fewer pieces than I thought, so I could put it on without much trouble. It was unexpectedly well designed, and from what I could tell, it was hand sewn. The mane, did we'll even have those? Seemed to be made of rice straw. It didn't seem cheap at all, and though I couldn't be sure, it seemed to be designed to look divinely imposing. The mask seemed to be a wooden carving with insane amounts of detailed work put into it. A true masterpiece. By the time I put it on, I didn't care much about the smell. It wasn't hard to move in or anything. The inscribed cloth at the bottom was connected to the belt. I put it on like it was a traditional grass skirt, and it wasn't a big hindrance for running or anything else. The cloth connected to the mask to the face like some sort of straight stagehand's clothing, and I could only see ahead to the gaps between them. The wolf-like mask itself was simply resting on my forehead. As I put it on, I found the bucket and a ladle among the items. It was full of water, and I knew I had to cleanse myself with this. I was a bit apprehensive about this, but I took out some water and poured it over my head. It jumped off the rice straws, making my shoulders wet or spreading across the area. Was I doing it right? I was still worried, but by putting it on was meaningless, so I put my hand on the door and sensed something bad outside. It wasn't anything vague, like bloodlust or evil mojo. It was sounds I could actually hear. I heard grass being parted. I heard the sounds of something walking through the sand. Shallow breathing, low growls, distant roars full of malice. It reminded me of the time I was locked in the outhouse and I sensed something bestial outside. This was exactly the same as last time. There was something outside. Lots of them, in fact. Last time I'd only survived because I held the door shut and something was about to open it. And I had to go outside this time? I'll be okay just because I was wearing this? No way. It seemed like a sick joke. Oh, but I really wanted to see it. What a familiar sensation. Just then the doorknob clattered.
Fusashi-san, are you awake?
I still heard beasts outside, but the voice clearly belonged to a girl, Haru Makishima. Haru-chan?
Don't call me that.
Is it safe?
If you wear the mask and cleanse.
She was telling me the truth. Was it really her outside? Even if it was some sort of illusion, if I didn't open my presence to this flow of events, would be pointless. I fired myself up and unlocked the door. Whoa. The moment I opened the door, I saw a short wolf that scared me like hell.
You're too loud.
Are you really Haru-chan?
Yeah, look.
She moved the cloth covering her face. Sure enough, it was Haru-chan. She was clad in a wolf outfit and had the bucket and ladle in her hands.
You need to take yours too.
We're bringing these?
Yeah, we need to spread water as we go.
She took some from the bucket and spread it behind her. The action was followed by squealing sounds. I felt something squirm and ran off. What is that?
The bringers of the corruption.
She spread some more water. This time on me. Bruh, it's cold. Hey, what are you doing? She repeated it a couple of times, with great intensity to boot.
It's because you haven't cleansed yourself at all.
I was supposed to be completely drenched? As if she felt that explaining was pointless, she just touched the cloth near her waist. Sure enough, it was completely wet. Can I ask something?
What?
Assuming that's how you're supposed to do it, how do you know that?
I'm not sure why, but I just know.
Are you hiding something?
I'm not.
We're both wolves. You shouldn't hide anything.
What are you worried about?
The word shut me up.
Well, I get how you feel. I've calmed down already, so you'll soon be used to this too, I think.
Alright. I wasn't satisfied, but I backed down anyway. By the way, if you're not used to talking polite, you don't have to.
Please don't act like we're close. Let's go. Kaori-san is waiting.
Yeah, the chasm between us was wide. Or maybe Kemi and Rikaku-san were just too easy. Apparently, Haru-chan had to walk through the mist without any light. I took out my small flashlight.
What's that? It's so cool.
And was met with a weird reaction. You can have it. I have another one. I prepared them in case I ended up running away with someone at night. I sure as hell didn't expect it to be a wolf, though.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, it's dangerous in the dark. How'd you get to me anyway?
I know Yasumizo's passed by heart.
Made sense. It was dangerous regardless, though, so I just gave her one and showed her how to use it. Just make sure no one knows about it. It'll be really bad for us if they find out we walked around at night.
That's true. Alright.
She spread some water again and put the ladle back and took the flashlight.
You spread the water now.
She led me through the dark path. I could barely see anything, but I did sense something bestial in the darkness. It was clearly hostile towards us, and several of them were surrounding us from a distance. However, they didn't come any closer. They also backed away if I spread some water. The flashlight could barely make it through the mist, so it didn't help me see anything in the distance. It was pretty useless, to be honest, but Haru-chan seemed to like it. She also swung it around like a sword, or rather lightsaber. What were these bringers of the corruption anyway? Actual Japanese wolves, perhaps? Every now and then I saw eyes light up in the mist. Besides that, I also heard growls and the sounds of something stepping in the sand. Dogs, right?
It had to be it.
Yasumizu was completely full of dogs right now. That expression made it seem adorable. But, seriously? No way. If my assumption was right, this situation was way scarier than some simple supernatural phenomenon.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people with vicious fucking dogs just hanging around waiting for you if you fuck up or not.
I continued spreading water. Too much of it. All the way there.
Fusashi-san.
A wolf of the same stature of Kaori-san came and stood at the chair of the dining hall. It was very surreal. Yes, I'm Fusashi. You're Kaori-san, right?
Yes, I was a bit worried. By the time I came, he'd already changed. I was about to leave. You didn't have any problems?
Not really. Did you also know how all this works?
Yes. I have no idea why, but I just knew it. It's strange, but it's probably had something to do with what Shinai-sama said.
There were 3 of them, right? It's supposed to be like that?
I don't know. The journalist said that Shinai-sama was Okami-sama. That's maybe why we have 3 of them. That means that there are guardians, one for each of us.
That's good enough for you?
I mean, you saw them, right?
Right. That strange experience did actually seem supernatural. People tended to accept anything they could see.
Then, shall we go?
Huh? Where?
To kill.
Wait, what?
We have to decide who to kill first. Oh, that's true. I guess I'm in a bit of a rush.
Yeah, see, so this here is extra strange. Because they both seemingly know a bunch of weird nonsense. Like, how are you supposed to know that bringing the water and spreading it around was how you're supposed to do this? That definitely feels like something that they've been shown before. Maybe like while you're in this village beforehand, they fuck with your brain. Like, once again, I think there's something in the mist. And that there's some way of them snapping you out of it and waking you up and making sure the mist doesn't put you back to sleep. And the fact that everyone here is once again willing to kill, but we're the ones who still seemingly have our free will, is once again interesting. Like, there's some sort of indoctrination going on to the people who are just here for a while. There's definitely something extra, and not just magical powers, because otherwise we would be affected too.
Oh, that's true. I guess I'm just a bit of a rush. Looking at today's feast, Oji-chan is probably the best choice.
They're doing the same choice every time too. It definitely feels like something is like directly like, I don't know. I don't know how I would explain this with the mundane terms besides, because they're also, remember, they're not supposed to have like open flame. That once again feels like if you opened up flame out in the outside, it probably would react with a chemical maybe, and maybe light something on fire. So that might be a cool trick to try. Just lighting a fire out in the mist and see if it actually ignites. That'd be a hell of a way of dying. Let's go back where the gas is. Boom!
Looking at today's feast, Oji-chan is probably the best choice. I think Takumi-san is pretty dangerous too.
Wait, are you two serious?
About what?
You'll have to kill your family. Aren't your sons important to you? She twitched and tilted in a natural way.
I know that. Of course they're important to me, but I have no choice. I must do as Shinai-sama says. Kaori-san.
You too, Haru-chan. Do you really want to kill Yasunaga-kun and Mochi?
Well, I don't, but what else can we do though? Run away from here?
That wasn't the way to go. We'd get lost or killed by the monsters. The mist would just send me back to square one. All I could do here.
Also, it does make sense that if the way a lot of people have been dying, they've been like ripped to pieces. So having a bunch of people ripped to pieces by dogs would make sense, especially since Yoshigitsu was killed by the corruption. So if he was just assaulted by a bunch of vicious fucking dogs that obviously could be being raised in the village above here. Like, it doesn't have to be wolves.
Let's pick one or the other.
Kill no one. Massacre. Wait. Huh? When you say massacre, do you mean kill as many as you can to see what happens when you die, or kill no one and see what happens when you die that way? Honestly, I think kill no one is a dead end, and we're probably just going to die by something that we could have seen happening in the first place, but I think I'm going to pick kill no one and see what's going on. And see if that just gets me killed right away by corruption. Let's pick one. We shouldn't kill. Can we just not do this? The rule was kill one per night. Just like with humans, that was the limit. Basically, we couldn't kill 2 or more, but there was no rule about not killing at all. Thankfully, we had the perfect situation for that. You had to grip Kaori-san. This isn't something divine, it's just a terrible conspiracy. You will regret listening to it. Your body proves it. Body? You're shaking and can barely talk. If this is hard for you, you don't have to force yourself to be Shinai's servant. Thankfully, Takumi-san created a situation where they won't kill anyone if we don't kill first. No one will have to kill anyone if we don't start it.
Really? Is that true?
Yes. And as long as neither side harms the other, we can find a solution to this. Of course, it's hard to maintain mutual trust in this situation. But isn't this much better for you than killing your own sons?
You're right, of course.
I did it. Yasumisu's laws were an absolute. I just proved it. Or, so I thought. Okay, what's her name kills me now? I felt a light impact on my side. And when blood started pouring out, I thought I was living out some sick joke. A moment later, my conscience quickly began to fade, making me once again realize that death could come out of nowhere. As I collapsed on my back, my eyes met those of a smallish wolf. Haru-chan. Okay. Yeah, you definitely should. See, this is when I would want to restart the loop first and talk to Haru-chan first. Or try talking to them both at the same time, maybe. Even though the cloth, I could tell they were cold, stirred, and full of disgust, of hatred and powerless vermin. I shouldn't have expected anything from an outsider. The words were even colder than the encroaching shadow of death. The mountain's laws are absolute. In her hand, she had a bloody grass sickle.
You know that, don't you, Kaori-san?
My vision soon faded completely.
We must put Nichan and Yoshi-kun out of their misery.
At first, I felt the taste of blood fill my mouth, but even that was gone now.
That's our mission.
I couldn't feel warmth or cold anymore.
No, I won't. All right, then die.
I stopped hearing whatever they were up to, and as my consciousness faded, I realized that I'd failed. Man, the wolves this time were just awful. Irrational purge. Okay, so I have to choose both of those before I can choose whatever the correct answer is, which I guess is picking a particular person. Okay. Bad ending 21, hint corner, no. I'm pretty good. I know exactly where we're loading up. Okay. Darkness. We go to the only choice we've had so far. And skip into Massacre. Which, assumably, we're going to die from this too. We're wolves. Wolves must kill the Yamabito.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying.
I'm fine with it. I'm just wondering if you are. You're not going to stab me in the back if I'm about to kill someone important to you, are you? I don't question your faith in Great Lord Shinai, but I don't think you're inhuman enough to throw away your humanity just because your God told you to. I'll ask again. We're killing them for real. Are you sure you want to do this?
All right, I'm fine.
She went and said it. What about you?
All right.
Then, my words were cut off. And so was my breathing. What?
We have to kill ourselves.
Alright, see, now definitely the wolves this time suck. An intense heat, or cold in my back?
When we would rise from Yomi, and I get to see them again.
I mean, honestly, she's correct. This would have been funny if you were able to get Kaori to kill Haru and then kill herself, and then while you're the only one who's alive, or you kill Kaori and go, all right, cool, they're all fucking dead. Now it's just me. Everyone thinks there's only one wolf, and now I get to do this however the fuck I want. When the sensation was pulled off out of the body, I began to feel my life leave me.
Then I won't have to hurt my sons.
I understood that she was stuck between a rock and a hard place, but I didn't expect it to be so bad that she resorted to such drastic measures. So, it sucks that our choice isn't to, like, restrain Haru or, like, try to get her to not do it for once this time, or I don't know. Anyway, I collapsed forward.
Now, Haru-chan, hold still. Traitor!
That was the last thing. Like, of course, how about we say that? But, okay, We do this loop again, but we put it where Kaori is closest to Haru, and we take a step back before saying those lines. And then when she kills Haru, we kill Kaori, and then those are the people that died. We let it go, unless we die from corruption because more than one person died. Who knows? And then we'd just be like, damn, 2 people died? Well, I guess they must have been human. And then nobody checks in that they're wolves. And then that people are still thinking there's 3 wolves and they're just humans and it's just us. And we're like, haha, no one can betray us now. It's us. We're free. Anyway, that was the last thing I heard as I choked on my own blood and breathed my last. Had I chosen the wrong way to go about it? How could I have convinced her? My question is faded with consciousness. Okay, yeah, now that we know that we die no matter what, now we make the correct choice. Don't worry, we're just going to be doing a bit of Sudoku. Just a little bit of Sudoku. No, I don't need to watch the hint corner. The game gave me 2 choices that were wrong, and now I get to choose the right one. I get it. Not much else to it. Don't know why those had to be keys, though. I guess we just had to know that if we don't... I guess this just is the if you don't do it exactly right, everyone fucking just dies. Instead of, you know, picking somebody that maybe they both would have wanted to kill first. Like, if Haru didn't mention she had to kill her kids, we might have been able to start actually getting rid of a few people before the insanity between these 2 fucking idiots. Like, I'm just going to say it. These 2 fucking idiots. Literally, we get stuck with the worst wolves. Hell, we don't even know who the badger is yet. It'd be fun. I was going to say it could be Hashimoto, but he has already revealed he's a monkey, so all I could do here was pick one or the other. Or trick them, sure. If I insisted on killing, the mother snapped, and if I insisted on not killing, it was the girl. That experience made it impossible for me to choose either. The locals could have at least had the decency to harbor the same kind of madness. If I continued to do with little tricks, it'd lead to problems in the future. And I also wanted to find a scenario in which I didn't die. Thus, I decided to spend this timeline fulfilling the role of the wolf. Also, it seemed easier to create a full fanatic out of the doubter than to correct the unwavering zealot. I'll have to make Kaori-san kill her sons. For that, I needed a good story. I'm not sure if you'll believe me. She needed a story that could match the absurd legend. But I actually came here to save this village. If I had to be like entertainment and seem like fiction, like something Rikaku-san would like. Excuse me? To save us? They leaned in ear on me. Oh my... okay. Tell them you're looping. Just tell them you're looping. Tell them that... oh my god, just tell them you're looping and just not lie to them and just be like, oh yeah, I've done this a couple times, and each time I do this, you 2 fucking... like, just the first time you just tell them, you both suck. Lock in. We're wolves. We're doing this. We've got the shit. And it's a game anyway. It'll be fine. If you motherfuckers don't do what I say, I'm gonna kill you this time, okay? They landed an ear in the bag now. You might not believe this, but I can see things most people can't. This power gave me some trouble, but now I use it to solve certain problems. Then, what was that about giving up on life? A lie. A young man seeking death has shown sympathy in rural areas. I often need to blend into my jobs. This is a very weird way of going about this. Couldn't you just say you're like some extra agent? That's why you came and joined the town today? Because you had to make sure this feast went perfectly? This time, I came on the request of someone from Kama Fujiyoshi. What? A village head? Yes. I can't say who, though. I was told to investigate the supernatural phenomenon Yasumizu. I infiltrated Yasumizu, and sure enough, everyone is barely human. Kaori-san gasped. None of them know it. The boundary between Yasumizu and the afterlife is indistinct, so neither of you nor they realize it. But now that the mist is here, the false peace is over, and now we must fight those who fell to Yomi. That's what the mountain god Great Lord Shinai desires. Last night, we saw that the wolf-faced god wants. Why is this happening? The truth was less important than the ties to the real story. That's the kind of place Yasumizu is. Anyone who eats the local food eventually becomes a part of Yomi, in both mind and body. That's
That's what happened to Great Lord Shanai's guardians too. They resurrect whenever the mist comes, and this god must defeat them every time.
Why is he being so indirect about it?
Because he's weak right now. That surprised them both.
Shinai-sama is weak?
Yes. After all, the mountain is controlled by the four-head families who worship the four deceased guardians. They probably don't know it, though, and they probably won't believe if you told them that their ancestors have already betrayed their god and sided with Yomi. Someone will have to deal with them too. But for now, we just have to survive.
If everyone in Kamifujiyoshi's Yamabito too?
No. Apparently, it's just everyone in Yasumizu. You're the only humans here. I'm not sure why though. No, wait. Kaori-san, you're not from here, are you? There's a connection pulling you to your homeland. Somewhere north of here?
How did you know?
I just saw it.
That was a lie, but as someone experiencing these loops, I could easily simulate the supernatural phenomena of
knowing things before they were told to me.
What about me?
You? I honestly don't know if I should say it.
Huh?
I was honest this time. She'd survived going to Yasumizu 8 years ago. That alone was special enough, but she would be okay to hear it. I would just buy some time. I'll take this, thank you.
Huh?
I took a small, sharp-grasped sickle from her hand. It didn't seem like a supernatural power exactly, but I needed to look skilled. You would have killed me if I, an outsider, went against Great Lord Shanai's laws, right?
How?
I'm used to rough stuff too, Kaori-san. You also planned to go wild with that knife over there, didn't you?
That's not true.
It is, and I can see a demonic goddess who loves her children within you. What the hell was I saying? They were intensely listening to me, at least. It's a strong and righteous goddess, but you've currently blinded by her. She's keeping you from hurting your children and facing the truth.
I
understand if you want to trust an outsider like me, but as you can see, I am your ally. I have the skill and experience needed to deal with the Yamabito, and know what must be done for that. Kaori-san?
No, without them, my life would have been meaningless.
I understand that it's not something I should say right now, but their lives won't belong to you, Kaori Oribe-san. They aren't a replacement for what Fujiyoshi took from you, and what you lost here, especially your husband.
Just how much do you know?
Your husband is right behind your right shoulder. He's a lot like Yoshigitsu-kun, isn't he? She began crying loudly. What a cliché act this was. They don't know that they're with Yomi now, and that they're unknowingly tainting their souls. Their souls are silently crying. As their mother, you must release them. Can't you look at it that way? You need to survive. Leave this place, and live your own life. Your husband seems to think that too.
I haven't done anything motherly my whole life.
No one will blame you.
I knew that I was only raising them and tying them down without selfishness. I had Yoshigitsu protect me, and wished for Yasunaga to take me away from here. I have no talents, and I can't leave this place on my own.
I looked at Haru-chan, worried she might pull something, but she just shrugged a bit.
It's my fault they don't get along well. I know, but what could I do about it?
I had no idea that Kaori-san was hiding such weakness under her motherly strength. I had to ignore my guilt over taking advantage of it. It's not their fault either. The peace in Yasumizu was brief, but they survived and grew up to be great boys. But that's over now. We must end it all before the dream becomes a nightmare. No one's at fault. No one will hold a grudge against anyone. This is more like a natural disaster than anything else. It'd be horrible if that was true, honestly. I silently hoped that my lie wouldn't become reality. I also felt that the root of all evil here was in my story with the Higuchi, that they sent me here after all. But I kept quiet about it. Anyway, my story seemed to have captured her completely.
One thing. Can I ask just one thing?
What is it? I had to give her something to help her gather her resolve.
If I have to kill them, let me do it early. Let me put them out of their misery.
That wouldn't be good for us. If we made the killings personal, someone would notice. Taking out Yasunaga-kun at the start was one thing, but following it up with Yoshigitsu-kun? Would she even stay sane with them gone? But I'm fine with that. Haru-chan had just silently listened for the most of my story, but now she'd made herself an obstacle?
You won't kill us if we don't let you, right? I just want to put them out of their misery. That's okay. So there's two ways we can do this. First off, we kill we kill the smart kid, and then we just bait Yoshigitsu because he'll be so mad his brother's dead to go out and go fight in the fucking mist. And we can just get him killed by corruption. So that's easy peasy. That we have a way out of this baked in. That's it. And we also get to knock out the smart kid. That's it. That's always been it. I just realized it. If you don't let me do it, I will do it myself. See? If Kaori-san let her emotions take over and acted independently, she'd most likely put us in a terrible situation. She'd probably prepare food with aconite. Kinosuke would notice, and she'd be hanged. That'd be no use to us. She could also use more messy methods, but no matter what they were, they'd have minimal effect. Another way is you could kill Kinosuke first, and then let Kaori poison everybody, and then she would die from corruption, and we would be fine. Because like, oh, it's Kaori did it, not us. Oh, damn, so many people just died by Kaori-san. Oh, damn it. Especially if they hang her and do the feast then there's like, well, the corruption couldn't have come for her. Damn, oh no. We wouldn't even have to worry about that. Violence needed to have perfect timing and force behind it. In that sense, Kemi's rampage last time was perfect. If you make it personal and kill your sons, you would be suspected. I don't mind, even if it gets me hanged. Your husband wants you to leave this place. Even if my sons or husband want it, I don't think I can bear killing them with my own hands. It'd trouble us. A single wolf's death means a third of us will be gone. But, however, if you leave your death to us, then we will help you. This was awful. Yes, all right. It was awful. I was awful. This team was just goddamn awful. Who drafted these fucking losers? They keep feeding they literally keep feeding the opposing team. They don't wait to pile up. They don't want a group. The fucking tanks just keeps running the fuck in there. The healer's AFK, somewhere, who knows what the fuck they're doing. And the hunter, well, God bless the fucking hunter, can't even find the entrance to the dungeon. Like, goddamn. If you don't see your husband anymore, dear, I'm so sorry. Crap. The Kaori-san, her sons were basically a replacement for her husband. What she wanted now is basically a forced group suicide along with her sons. That was the compromise. The overlap between the laws of the mountain and her ego. Why were humans so hard to manipulate? Then, let's start with Yasunaga-kun today. Yes. Haru-chan, are you okay with it? Does it matter? Nichan is a Yamabito. You liked him, didn't you? Like a brother. That's it. If you want to slam tonight, I won't be selfish about it. What a good girl. Thank you. Everyone in Yasumizu was a good person. I wasn't. And to me, they seemed completely insane. Mamiya-san had probably felt similarly last time. That was why she died like that. And I had no intention to follow her in her footsteps. I decided that I would survive, and if that required me to become the best wolf, so be it. The three of us went through the mist. The wolves parted the gray, cloudy air and felt like I was in a plane that had flown into a cloud at night. We were careful, spreading water to keep the beasts at bay, trying not... Oh, okay, I get it. The whole thing is filled with wild dogs, and the purification water is something that keeps the dogs away. Or they're probably trained dogs. And there's something in the water that keeps the animals away. That's why when you betray it, or if you run away without the water around, you get ripped to pieces. Or they could simply, if you broke the rules... They could simply swap your water bucket out for regular water, and then you get murdered by the wolves anyway, or whatever the hell they want to do. I say wolves, but at this point, trained dogs definitely seems like more of an answer, unless it's trained wolves, which is really fucking hard. But Haru-chan and Kaori-san were probably just being considerate of me, though. Without me, they might have gone ahead quickly and without hesitation. Not just because they were familiar with the land, but also because they seemed just about as dangerous enough. They seemed like, if they decided on it, they could march straight to their grave. We were heading to the dorm. The disgusting deal with Kaori-san left us a few options to choose from. Though getting rid of Yasunaga-kun wasn't a bad choice. He was extremely supportive of Hashimoto-san, so without him, the cameraman would lose some of his influence. And by shutting Hashimoto-san up, we would damage Mamiya-san too. I already knew Takumi and Kanzo-san's weakness. I had to worry about Kemi's hidden true nature. As for Rikako-san, honestly... I felt that if I did the same things as last time, she would side with me again. The rest weren't very influential, though. I just had to be careful that they didn't go hysterical or on a rampage. My biggest concern right now was Mochi. It seemed entirely likely that he would know who the wolves were on gut instinct alone. Wouldn't he do something weird if he found out Haru-chan was a wolf? Though right now I was merely considering the kind of people they were and not the guardians they might have had. I could only hope that they'd went to Miko or the old wolf guy and that they have made them harder to control. Something about Takumi-san was bugging me too.
I can't die yet.
Wait, hang on, there's a warning. Those with guardians should be especially careful. I can't die yet. He was attached to Yasumizu because of Tei-san and Kaori-san, and that had his sense of responsibility as the local young leader. When you consider that, him saying that he couldn't die right now didn't really make sense. That meant that he had a guardian. Yasunaga-kun had realized it too, so he jumped in the conversation just like he had done with me last time. On the first loop, Takumi-san had revealed that he was a snake on the very first day. What if that was about to happen again? Mochi was a monkey back then, and he was one now too. Though everything else was different. Back then, the other monkey had been Miko. However, if there were some sort of rules for deciding who would get guardians, it wasn't unlikely that they would get the same ones. If he were the snake, I'd kill him and pass myself off as his guardian. We would gain a huge advantage. It was worth considering at least. We're here for Sashi-san. As I thought to myself, we arrived at the front of the dorm. I could see the misty moonlight accentuating the building's outline. For whatever reason, I already smelled blood. Oh. It reminded me of Haru-chan and Kaori-san's brutalized bodies. That sure was terrible. Those murderers ridiculed and laughed at humanity in the fullest extent. I wanted to have my boundaries when it came to that, at least. That sentiment came to mind. Blood. And faded as soon as Kaori-san said that. She was pointing at the stairs to the dorm. There was blood all over the rusty metal stairs. Why? Did Yoshi leave and die in the first night like he did last time? Why was this here? Whose blood was this? Did someone forget the shelter? Was there their corpse then? Visibility was poor as ever, but I looked around and something humanoid on the ground. A few seconds later, I finally noticed that someone was standing just a few meters ahead. I gasped, and the other wolves only noticed it a few seconds later. I quickly realized that the person there was Kemi Serizawa. She had something in hand. Her shotgun? Yeah, it was a sawed-off double-barreled shotgun. When you considered her madness, it made sense. She could totally underestimate... Oh, if she's here, she's the Badger. Okay. She could totally underestimate the corruption and put herself on the line to kill all the wolves by herself. It was also worth mentioning that she had a gun, a rarity here in Japan. She stood a way better chance than Yoshigitsu Orabe, whose courage only got him torn to pieces. We were only human, and that gun could instantly kill us. I hadn't predicted this. I was off guard. Right as Haru-chan and Kaori-san squealed, she raised her arms. Honestly, I was impressed. She managed to stay unpredictable in every single loop. I wouldn't have stood a chance against her if I didn't have my looping. She was a joker to me. A bloody, merciless joker. Alright, I had clearly lost this time. I had to do better next time. At that moment, her lips moved. A flash. What I saw wasn't the Reaper, but a smile. Oh, did she kill someone and did she just blow her own fucking head off? Lost in a crimson smile. At that moment, I wasn't able to do anything but stand in place, completely frozen. The two behind me shrieked and clutched my shoulders, but I ignored them. Kemi had just committed seppuku. Just committed Sudoku. Just had committed suicide. With a mischievous smile, she put the sawed-off shotgun in her own mouth and blown her head off from the jaw up. It was insanity. This time, she'd gone way beyond whatever I could imagine. What was this? What was this feeling of loss? Oh, it's just a series of lines. Don't worry about it. I was feeling it because I couldn't see her ever again. This loop? Was it the despair that the fact that a part of my brain was actually thinking, crap, we wasted one night's worth of murders? Or, Haruki-san, was it the fact that, don't become, I would never be able to ask her what she'd said?
What's going on? Hey, Fusashi-san, she just...
We can't kill today.
Huh?
The law says that we can only kill one person per night. She probably didn't have a guardian. By sacrificing herself, she protected the humans from losing anyone more valuable. She was probably just a human, and she decided that this was the best way for her to contribute to her side. Yeah, but we didn't kill her. Just because one person dies at night doesn't mean, that doesn't stop us from committing a murder. We're allowed as wolves to kill one person. If a human just offs themselves, oh fucking well. Then we can't kill Yasunaga today.
Oh no. We have no choice, Kaori-san. If you kill more than one, you won't be able to feel your desire either.
She outplayed us completely. Or did she really? I felt like I still couldn't match her in cunning no matter how hard I tried. I stayed still for a decent bit, just looking at her immobile remains within the mist. Let's do what we have to.
Yes, be careful where you walk. Good night.
We couldn't just stand...
I mean, I guess the way you would look at it is she was outside of her house. She was just standing outside and she died. You can easily say it was corruption or something else that killed her. You wouldn't have to say, especially since her head's all fucked up, which normally doesn't happen in the murders, but they don't know that. So you can be like, oh yeah, she died of corruption. She was outside and died. So the wolves didn't actually kill anybody, and Kemi went out and obeyed the laws with a gun and got herself killed. My body was completely wet, but since I'd worn the costume for so long, it actually began sweating, so taking off the mask was way too refreshing. Then, when it was time to return, Haruchan and I once again put on the mask and left the dining hall fully equipped. There was almost no water in the bucket by this point. But honestly, since our costumes were so wet, it wasn't likely that the bringers of corruption would attack us.
Here is good enough. The construction site is up to that hill.
Haruchan said that right in front of the dorm. Her tone was uncaring as always, but her words seemed to express some consideration. You okay? You're gonna walk by?
Chine's body.
Yeah. Sure you can handle it?
I don't think I can. It'd probably be worse if I could, though. But it's night, so...
So, what? I didn't get her reasoning. Though I could kind of relate to her. Then let's stick with the plan.
All right.
You can trust me?
Well, yeah, maybe.
That was enough to ensure that all went fine for tomorrow's onwards. I was worried, but I had no choice to keep on going. Bye then. I turned around.
Ah!
A voice from behind me stopped. I turned back at her. She was standing there, still clad in her smallish wolf outfit. Like before, I couldn't see her face, but I felt that something was off. At the core of it was the fact that she was laughing.
How does a valley girl laugh?
I don't know. What? Was this the...
My oh my, what a masterpiece. I could hardly contain my laughter when you were acting out of your role. And to think you even said that Great Lord Chennai was weak. How thrilling and enthralling. You are very opposite of God-fearing, aren't you?
You're...
What? Why not use the special powers you mentioned to see what I am? If you stay true to the lie, it might even become truth.
Are you Haru-chan? If not, then... the wolf possession.
My oh my, what a boring thing to hear from someone like you. You saw Great Lord Chennai within the red mist, didn't you not?
That was just an illusion.
An illusion you could see. What have you seen so far? Have you breathed so much of the mountain's energy, yet you still cannot comprehend it, city dweller? You still do not understand what God is?
God?
Perhaps you will when you fail, rise, and see hell many more times.
Please tell me. Throwing away my shame and honor, I grabbed her by the shoulders and shook her. What are you? What's happening to me? What's causing this weird phenomenon?
I do enjoy having a gentleman rely on me so intensely, but this girl might start to hate you.
You're not the same person?
brain question this much is tiring, so I'll give you only a single answer. There are 3 gods.
Huh? I know that. The Okami-sama are the 3 wolves, the parents and the child, right?
You do not understand. Great Shanai is a warped god made by smashing the 3 with a mallet and mixing them together. There are 2 more gods besides him, though one of them is a worthless god that is as good as dead, and the last one is your enemy.
With that, she shoved my hands away.
Looks like a fine gentleman has joined us on this dark, long evening party. Let us meet again tomorrow, city dweller.
The girl dashed away and disappeared into the dark mist. I didn't hear a single sound after that. I woke up feeling an overwhelming exhaustion. It was 5 in the morning, a time when Kanzo-san was already active. I wanted to sleep some more, but I couldn't let them suspect that I was a wolf based on the idea that I didn't get enough rest. After returning here last night, I changed my clothes, wiped my body, and wondered how I was supposed to hide the costume parts. In the end, I hid it under some newspaper, which was very cartoonish. If the humans found it, just like that, I'd feel like the butt of some bizarre joke. A part of me did hope that it would be gone by the time I woke up, though. I'd gone to sleep at 2 in the morning, and sure enough, the costume was gone by the time I woke up. Well, of course it would be. If the costumes remained, you could easily find the wolves by checking everyone's homes during the day. Last time, when I'd infiltrated Kemi's room to mess with her guns, I hadn't seen anything like this. Also, if the humans found out there was something so artificial involved in the whole wolfing business, the Yomobito side of the story, that the monsters had transformed into humans, would have been rendered unbelievable. No matter how much the locals revered Yasumizu's legend, I felt like the feast wouldn't get anywhere without the fear caused by the idea that they were dealing with something supernatural. Was the thing I'd seen on my first time actually Yasunaga-kun or Tei-san wearing the wolf outfit? That didn't seem far off the mark. The mist and darkness made the costumes look extremely convincing. Maybe that was Great Lord Shinai himself, as he appeared in the red mist that one time. According to Haru-chan, that was the god, but... Forgetting that, what was Haru-chan herself? How did she know about my looping? It actually seemed that she even knew about its cause. Possessed by the wolf? By the Okami? By the great god? There were 3 gods, and that had nothing to do with the Okami-sama being a group of 3. Was Great Lord Shinai a tripartite god? And wasn't it? Isn't the word supposed to be triumvirate? No, triumvirate's just another fucking word for that. I remember from Catholic school, Lamau. And one of the other 2 was my enemy. What the hell was that supposed to mean? She'd given me a lot of information, but it was all vague and uncertain. Were there mysteries and legends I still didn't know about? That made most of my current investigation completely off the mark. I mean, I guess if you wanted to look at it that way, the legend of Lord Shinai would just be the adding in Christianity to whatever Shinto already had there. So you just take the Trinity and like, oh, well, they're all the same but different. And then you actually split it out. So that could possibly be it. The reason why a lot of this changed is when Christianity hit. Was I missing or misinterpreting something critical about the info I already had? God. This made me want to rely on Mamiya-san, Tei-san, or Ikaku-san's knowledge. But this time, I was their enemy and had to kill them. Though this time, Mamiya-san was a decent state, so I would ask her before I got rid of Hashimoto-san. She would know the true motives behind that. Why was Kemi's face flashing through my mind every now and then? I went outside, intentionally avoided looking at the dorm, and headed to the plaza. Kanzo-san and Takumi-san were already there, and they told me about Kemi's death. No one else was missing. Then, all that blood was... Oh well, it didn't matter. Okay, I think it does, because either Kemi just had a lot of... Okay, so the idea is that Kemi was drenched in a lot of blood, and that kept whatever the corruption is away from her, or that she killed one of the dogs that are supposed to be the corruption, and she was waiting to make us watch her kill herself.
Like, she knew who we were going to target too. Interesting enough. Unless that she guessed that Kaori-san's state that it was going to be Kaori. So that's why she was like, all right, I think I know how this might go, and protected the... That we'll have to figure out. Although, kind of the way this game goes, our character will probably just infer it out of nowhere in like a crazy hypothetical and go, oh, all right, fine, whatever. Oh well, it didn't matter. As we waited in the plaza, we were eventually joined by Kaori-san. She seemed a lot better than yesterday. Had her mind stabilized a bit once she started looking at killing her sons in a positive manner. Let's prepare the food, shall we? Yeah. Yesterday, we agreed on 5 things. We would focus on information control and gathering, as in, we would avoid having secret talks and instead try to listen in on any that the humans had. We would avoid talking about things we weren't supposed to, like the cause of Kemi's death. Haru-chan would contribute to the feast once, then continue being as anti-elder and anti-outsider as possible. Kaori-san would declare that she would follow Yasunaga-kun's vote and do it even if he was voting for a wolf. And finally, we would fake our guardians. However, I would be the first to act, and only from the 3rd day onwards. The plan was focused mostly on keeping them from looking suspicious or doing something they didn't have to. I was apprehensive about trying to get them to go wild like Kemi did and have them kill more humans. After all, I didn't have the trust or charisma for that. Of course, my final goal was my own survival, not theirs. There would probably be situations in which I had to use them as a human shields, or just situations where it was an option. But don't become... I didn't want to become just a murderer. A situation where I, not Haru-chan or Kaori-san, was the one suspected was the best path to lead us to victory. Also, as an outsider, I had to gain their trust and make them certain I wouldn't betray them at this feast. And on top of that, I would survive. There had been many unexplained deaths during his turn, but there was no denial that he survived as a wolf. Though about those deaths, especially Yoshigitsu-kun's and Mochi's, many times so far, but I couldn't really believe that Yasunaga-kun was the one who organized them. He didn't get rid of his allies, and he stood up against Tae-san, even if not as blatantly as he would have when he was a human. Personally, I thought it was the right way to handle it. I had to prepare for anything while trying to make sure that all wolves survived. Anyway, I was silently preparing the food. By the time it was 7, everyone besides Kemi had gathered in the dining hall. Yasunaga-kun's face was pale. Apparently, she committed suicide right in front of his room. Seeing that right after waking up certainly wasn't my idea of a good time, especially when it was the girl you liked and respected. Mochi didn't seem too fazed by her death. He was too busy helping Yasunaga-kun cope with it. As for Haru-chan...
Ni-chan, don't push yourself. Sit here. Do you need a cushion or a blanket?
It's fine. I'm alright.
Mochi, do you know any herbs that make people feel better? Oh, guess I'll look into some garlic or something. Garlic? No, stop!
She was overdoing it. Wouldn't she appear unnatural? Wasn't she supposed to act even more shocked than Yasunaga-kun? Feeling uncomfortable about this, I continued preparing the food when Takumi-san spoke up. As you already know, someone died yesterday. It's Kemi. Our girl died, and so soon after coming home. There was some silent noise. Kaori-san muttered Kemi's name, while I created a gloomy expression. Told ya. You did. But I think this is weird. Can a human kill like that? It seems animalistic.
Huh?
Dumbass.
What's wrong, Orbi-san? Nothing. It's just that the only local wildlife that attacks people are boars and moon bears. Did something like that show up?
That's ain't it. You know anything, old man? No. That was the end of that exchange. Had she masked her blunder well? Making the wolves say things that only they could know was a good way for the humans to find them out. Mochi had fallen for it last time, and there was no guarantee it wouldn't slip up while I talked. I had to make sure I didn't fall into the same situation as she did. But beasts? Badgers? Was her body attacked by the bringers of corruption afterwards? I did take a photo. I'll say it again. Delete it before you leave. If that's necessary, if you wish to see it, go ahead. I don't recommend it to sensitive people. We're about to eat after all.
I really don't think any of you should look.
You could tell by her expression that she'd seen it. She looked like she wouldn't touch food the whole day. Whether we looked or not didn't affect our chances of being found out, so I just raised my hand.
Me too!
You know, I was the only ones who looked at it. The others surely believed looking at it would do no good. I took a look at the back monitor of Hashimoto-san's camera, an expensive digital eye model that just last year. Yeah, it was completely different from what I'd seen. It was actually pretty close to the results of the corruption I'd seen in the previous feasts. It was a mountain of chewed and torn up meat and bones. It made me nauseous, or at least I acted like it did, when I was used to it at this point. That's awful.
Oh, this isn't Wolf. Ah, sweet.
He actually said something other than the wolf was coming, and even asked something. In response, Kanjo-san should in fact know it's corruption, yeah. Clearly displeased. He wanted us to use this as evidence to hang the wolves in the feast, but there were some problems. Okay. So everyone is going to think it was corruption and the wolves didn't actually kill. That's why I'm thinking, I don't think Kemi was protecting. I think Kemi was obfuscating one more day maybe for us. Could she have been though? Maybe. Probably not though. He wanted to use evidence to hang the wolves in the feast, but there were some problems. One of them was that Kemi seemed to have died of the corruption. It didn't make sense.
Chi-chan received the corruption. Yes, it appears that she had broken the law of sheltering. But there's no way Chine could have known that. She was scared of the stories too. Indeed. How did this happen?
Did she have some business with me? Was that why she was standing in front of my room?
Anything come to mind?
Nothing. It even felt like she'd been avoiding me.
What? Was the idea that she committed suicide about to be glossed over? Was it because they didn't find the gun? That would be... Lying right now would be dangerous. Anyway, we didn't expect this. Let's eat. Clean her up, then talk about what to do next.
Wait. I'm not an expert, but shouldn't we preserve the scene of the crime?
Would it be bad to not clean it up? To us, it's way more important to get rid of the corpse and right in front of us than finding whoever did it. I see.
Hashimoto-san.
Let's just listen to them. Oh, will the cleanup be done by Muro-san and Makashima-san? Yeah. Then Kyu-chan and I will watch the dining hall surroundings. The rest of you try not to wander too far from here. Isn't that for the best? What do you think, old man?
You're the monkey, aren't you?
Yes?
I'll leave the patrol to you. Bring whatever bites.
I see. Very well. Hashimoto-san pointed out the necessity for patrols, came out as a reliable volunteer, and became even more trustworthy. On the other hand, he was giving himself a way to talk to Mamiya-san in secret. Was it his way of separating her, whose identity wasn't confirmed yet, from the rest of the group? I had to calm down. The first part of this move was obviously great, but I wasn't sure about the second one. Hashimoto-san was an active player, but I couldn't tell which of his actions were intentional and which were coincidence. So, anyone who can eat should just do that. I would like to have some too, may I?
Yes, certainly. Would you like some too, Takumi-san?
Yeah, of course. I'll have some.
Can we really eat this?
He had to say that now, of all times?
Huh? The hell you saying?
I'm not trying to be needlessly considerate. Someone died today because of superstition. At that's why I believe we should throw away superstition and act appropriately.
The hell you talking about? You suspecting the hag?
Oh dear.
Unlike how he was so far, Kenosuke spoke those words without any sarcasm.
Okay, that would be... Kemi tells us in that one, don't be a murderer. And now, like, every single death is just somebody dying because we either tricked them or because they died of corruption or they did something. That would actually be pretty funny. Just be like, yeah, so I was the wolf and I didn't actually kill a single person. It was just them hanging people and then sheer coincidence.
Unlike how it was so far, Kinosuke spoke these words without any sarcasm. Had he read the mood and chosen to become the representative, but not wrong kind of character? Wait, what? Had he read the mood and chosen to become the resentable, but not wrong kind of character? Okay, no, he wasn't that considerate. Yoshigetsu, stop. The Sato-san isn't wrong this time. If you're gonna mope around, then shut up. Mom, you tasted it, right? Something wasn't right here. Why was everyone so sharp so early in the game?
Of course.
Good. Kaori-san understands what they meant.
But I think I should try again.
Nice. Good job. No, I'll try it this time. This was my time. Everyone wanted to suspect me over everyone else, so I had to eat before they did. That was the only way to make them understand that I didn't add any poison to the food. Unfortunately for them, we weren't pulling anything like that this time. Shit.
Hey, you didn't even kill anybody. You just bullshitted this entire time. What the fuck?
Hey, I'm sorry. Yeah, what can I say? I was busy figuring out the other two gods. Damn. Maybe if you told me, I would have helped you out. But nope, didn't have to.
I tasted the food and gave everyone a show of me re-washing the dishes, making them finally agree that the food was safe. We then had breakfast. Mamiya-san and Yasunaka-kun refused, while Haru-chan ate quite a lot actually, and then Takumi-san and Kanzo-san left the dining hall. All right, I'll walk around and keep watch. There might be dangerous beasts here, so you should stay inside as much as you... Oh, there might be dangerous beasts here, so you should stay inside as much as you can. But shutting yourselves in isn't good either. Consider this free time, but don't go where you can't hear anyone.
I'm supposed to go too, right?
Anyone else want to come? Okay, then it's just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
I didn't understand what his final words meant. What if accepting the offer was the right choice?
Let's clean up.
Okay. This was my job, so it was the right thing for me to do, right? By the time we finished cleaning up, only 5 people were left in the dining hall.
Thus I offer homage to Shinai the Almighty, so peace may come to pass. Thus I offer homage to Shinai the Almighty, so peace may come to pass.
Miko, your hair is a mess. Come, I shall comb it.
No, don't wanna!
Shut up! Hei-san was in a praying mode. Rikako-san was busy caring for Miko, who seemed in a foul mood. Kinosuke-san seemed to want to call out to her, while Yoshigitsu-kun just seemed pleased.